you any minute now. We're waiting for Karoline Leavitt. And I don't want to come out of this. I need you on here now. Sorry, you guys. We're waiting for the press update. Gotta get it. She's going to give us an update about Iran war.
We're waiting for Karoline and see what she has to say, you know. So it'll happen any minute now.
Oh, we're not going on yet at all.
Yeah.
I'm just so surprised that the way things are escalating, that we were looking for this to be a brief war with the United States and Israel. We didn't expect this to continue the way that it is. There's just so much that's going on right now. And you guys, sorry about this, but we came on a little sooner than we prepared.
Yeah, so we're waiting. Gonna see what she says about it. Yeah, so we'll see how this goes, you know.
Like 75% of the people want Pete headset gone.
These two reforms are big progress, but we're not even close to being done. These are the first steps toward restoring the esteemed position of chaplain as moral anchors of our fighting force. Theirs is a high and sacred call, but they can only be successful if they're given the freedom to boldly guide and care for their flock. And to our chaplain, you have a sacred calling. So preach the truth, be steadfast in your faith, and shepherd the flock entrusted to you.
And that is the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. As you guys know, that kind of message wouldn't fly in a place like China, right? There's no freedom there to speak like Pete just did. And that's why we want our country to be saved. We want our country to, not only spiritually in some ways, of course, but also our elections, having free and fair elections. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to Copier. The Copier says a lot of people tend to go overboard buying new supplements, trying a new diet or workout, which is always great. I should do the same. But then they completely ignore the most important basic thing, drinking water. So even mild dehydration impacts energy, focus, metabolism. And when you think about all the garbage that's in our water, you're starting behind the curve before you even begin. So Copure changes that whole thing immediately with this Copure clear wave technology. It's certified to remove up to 99% of contaminants, pretty much anything that isn't water. So those PFAs or microplastics, pharmaceutical residue, fluoride, it all gets removed. It's the purest water you can get, and you can get $250 off for a limited time right now if you just go to that link, copure.com/RSBN. So instead of maybe a big overhaul, maybe one small upgrade that will add up every single day. Clean water with no tap water aftertaste. That's one thing alone, but also how about all of those contaminants that are in the tap water? Well, right there, you protect what matters, copure.com/RSBN. Let's also go to allfamilypharmacy.com and take a moment to tell you about one of our trusted sponsors, All Family Pharmacy. If you're someone who believes in medical freedom, who supports the MAHA movement, and who's frustrated with the healthcare system that puts insurance companies and government bureaucrats between you and your doctor, All Family Pharmacy is for you. They are an independent American pharmacy, not a chain, and they give you direct access to the medications you need, including ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, more than 400 generic medications without all of that runaround. So right now, exclusively for all of our RSBN viewers, you can get 25% off your order. Use that RSBN25 promo code. Here's how it works. Specifically, you just go to the website that you see on your screen there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You fill out that medical form that a licensed U.S. physician reviews your request, prescribes if appropriate, and your medication ships directly to your door. And with spring here, allergies, travel, Uncertainty in the world right now is a great time to be prepared. So you can order ahead and be ready. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. It's 104 Monday, March 30th. Great sponsors here at Right Side. As of right now, still waiting on the start of the press conference at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. As soon as we see that, we'll go there live. A big news day, of course. Every day it seems as if is a big news day since, I don't know, since 9/11 and on. So it's just a lot has been going on over the past several decades and years. And one of the big stories, of course, is getting that Save America Act passed. Also, for those of you that love outer space, NASA is gearing up, of course, as their crew gears up for their Artemis 2 launch. And if you're just joining us right now, of course, we've gone over a number of stories, and we'll continue to do that here at the network. But let's go to this specifically with NASA. As Artemis 2, this launch is happening around the corner.
Artemis 2 is our return of humans to the moon, flying around the moon on board Orion. But along with that, we're doing a lot of great science.
One of the exciting things about the Artemis missions to the moon is that science is actually a fundamental pillar of why we explore, why we're going, what we're doing in Artemis.
I think it's incredibly exciting that not only are we testing the vehicle, but we're testing science on board, science where the astronauts are conducting experiments, science riding along with the astronauts. We have astronauts looking outside the window and really observing the lunar surface.
It will help us understand the deep space environment. It will help us understand how that environment affects our astronauts, our systems, and life in general.
So deep space is a challenge for us because you have to leave Earth's protected magnetic field. Here in low Earth orbit, the crew members are protected from some of the harmful radiation. Going to the moon, they'll no longer be protected, so they'll have a higher radiation exposure.
Much like Artemis 1, we have so many radiation sensors and detectors that are inside the capsule so that we can fully understand and appreciate the radiation environment for protecting our astronauts. In my hand here, I'm holding a tissue chip model. This is the exact design that's going to be flying alongside the astronauts. We'll be collecting samples from each of the crew members, and we can make these organ chips out of the astronauts themselves. So every crew member will have their own avatar on board, and then upon return, we can evaluate that deep space radiation environment and what that compares to the astronaut themselves. Not only are they going to help change the course of medicine for the astronauts, but revolutionizing that on Earth as well.
We're looking at sleep, we're looking at team dynamics, we're looking at how you interact with the environment. We're also looking at the immune system. So what are the biomarkers? We're using saliva as a method to study hormones and different things in your body that may change during a mission like this. And then finally, how do we function after microgravity, being close to the moon, then returning to Earth.
Which will ultimately help us achieve our goal of getting humans to Mars.
And then on top of that, we have an opportunity to look at the moon from deep space on the far side for the first time in over 50 years.
Having human eyeballs and brains back around the moon is going to unlock a new generation of lunar science discovery. The human eyeball is capable of taking in so much data in just a split second. They'll be able to tackle impact history, volcanic history. They'll be able to look at how the albedo, or kind of the shade and hue of the moon and the color of the moon, can tell us something about how that terrain evolved over time. We're integrating science in ways that have never been integrated into human exploration before. We have a front room mission control flight controller position called the science officer. We have a brand new science back room where it's basically our brain trust of lunar scientists and geologists supporting the crews of the future. And Artemis 2 will allow us to really test how this works so that future missions are really set up for success.
We'll also be deploying some CubeSats. They're small shoebox-sized spacecraft of their own. They're each provided by another country, one of our partners. As they conduct their research, they'll complement what we are doing at the moon with Orion.
It is so incredibly exciting to be a part of this mission.
It has been, really one of the privileges of a lifetime.
I can see the work I'm doing benefit crew members right now and benefit the crew members in the future. So it's incredibly exciting. And it's very rewarding.
As this rocket launches humanity off of the Earth, we'll be setting the stage through our science to prepare humanity to leave Earth and explore the solar system.
Hey you guys, my name is Cindy. Welcome to Speak the Truth 2.0. We're waiting for Karoline Leavitt to come on. There's a lot going on, not just inside of the United States, but outside of the United States. I don't know how you guys feel about what's escalating, something that we thought that was going to be brief, because the United States is a powerful country. We know that we are by far the most powerful country in the world. So to have this war per se continue with Iran, to me, is disturbing, because it seemed like we should have technically defeated them to a certain degree, that we should have more taking control. But now Caroline's going to give an update about boots on the ground. I did not plan on coming on this soon. It's like once it went live, I couldn't stop it. So here I am. But we want to hear from her. She's going to give the updates. It's amazing that we're having difficulties with the Senate right now, with Congress, with the TSAs. I know that they are trying to channel money to them, so that the people that have been coming to work, you know, that you have to have money. I went to the gas station yesterday, and gas, I get premium. Gas was like $4.59 a gallon. $4.59. That's a lot, especially if you got to travel back and forth to work or whatever you have to do. Gas is going up. Things are going up, and when gas and fuel goes up, then everything else goes up, because to transport grocery, vegetables and product and produce and whatever they're shipping, they have to increase the price because of the gas prices. So I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but this year has started out like no other year. First, we apprehended Maduro, the Venezuelan president, and his wife. They are being held for criminal charges here in the United States. Then we had, unfortunately, 2 killings by ICE of American citizens. So that was unprecedented. And then follow that, like the TSA and the shutdown, and Congress refusing to pass the, really, I guess, to protect elections, because most Americans do feel, Save America Act, most Americans do feel that they want just United States citizens to vote in our upcoming elections. And I'm one of them. I feel as though that we shouldn't have people that are not from this country deciding our elections. I don't expect to go to Japan and decide their elections. I don't expect to go to Russia and cast a vote in their elections, because I'm not a citizen there. And I think the same respect should be given to American citizens. Whether it's a Democratic or Republican, it still will come from, it should come from American citizens, irregardless of parties. That we should decide our own fate. It shouldn't be decided by people who don't know our culture, by people who do not respect this country, by people who are unwilling to apply for citizenship. It should be determined by American citizens. And that's how I personally feel. And they said that the majority of Americans do believe in Save America Act, because they feel as though that Democratic and Republicans, both of us, feel as though that we should decide our elections, because it matters. And our vote is supposed to mean something. And I personally don't want anyone hijacking our elections by any means. I don't want anyone deciding who the next president is going to be. I don't want them deciding who my mayor is going to be, even local elections. I want the decision to be made, whether I agree with it or not, but by United States citizens. And that's how I feel personally. Now, what's going on in Iran is troubling to me. To me, it's more biblical. So I take it like it's a biblical, because things are playing out, the things that they say that are in the Bible. So I feel as though we are living in the last days. So what the president says, everyone needs to pay attention. Whether you voted for Trump or not, guess what? We only have one president at a time. So it's best to hear from him or from his press secretary, so before it hits mainstream media, and they can dilute it or they can inflate it, and they can have you believing what that news channel wants you to believe. And I have been gullible. I used to listen to nothing but MSNBC, CBS, ABC, Morning Joe, Rachel Maddow, you name it. I was all in, straight down Democrat. I never listened to Fox News. I never listened to any other mainstream media, because Fox News, after all, they were the enemy. They were racist. They're the prejudiced ones. They're the ones that are against black people. So I never dare to listen to anything they have to say, but I handicap myself because you need to listen to both sides. If you're a Republican, conservative, or independent, you need to listen to both sides because elections are not even decided by independent. Well, sometimes they are, but it's either going to be a Democrat or a Republican that's going to hold the highest office of the land. So I'm not doing that any longer. I listen to Fox News. I listen to Ground News. I get my information from content creators. I'm all over the sphere now. So I'm absorbing all information. So when I go into a voting booth, locally, nationally, or whatever, that I am informed. And I think that's truly important because we're living like in perilous times. I mean, we can't even ignore everything that's going on. You have people that are prepping right now. They're like, okay, what are we going to do with our money? The dollar is being devalued around the world. How should we invest? Should we, prepare for the inevitable? And people are doing that right now in real time. And this is the truth.
Someone said it all seems scripted to me, not prophecy, just scripted.
What's scripted? I know they're not saying this is scripted because guess what? I don't use a teleprompter. I don't use a script. No, everything is real, and that's a rarity right now.
What they're talking about, what's going on with Israel and Iran.
Well, what's going on? People are going to die. People are dying. People are losing their lives. And life, you can't get that back. You only have one life to live. Once it's gone, it's gone. So we're sending our young men and women over to Iran when they got landfills with mines. They got all kinds of things that our young people aren't prepared for. And a lot of them are going to die, especially when boots hit the ground. When you're going to somebody else's land, you're going to step into their territory. They have an advantage, whether they have better weapons or not. They have an advantage. So I'm not comfortable with that, but I need the United States to stand strong and be strong, but I don't want unnecessary loss of life, period. Well,
like you said, Israel goes down and this world's coming to an end.
That's right. I don't want unnecessary loss of life, that human life. A lot of those young people, we haven't had wars. They joined the military stuff because they could get a GI Bill. They could go to school for free. They can get VA. They can get different benefits. A lot of them join for benefits. But when the poop hit the fan, they weren't They weren't expecting to actually go over there and lose their lives. And a lot of them know by the order of the commander-in-chief, who is Trump, that they might not come back home. That's a reality that this country is being faced. When Trump came into office, he said no wars. He said he was the president of peace. But we find ourselves immersed in a war alongside with Israel fighting against Iran. And now they're talking about, what is it called? The Strait Hormuz and all of that, where everything goes past, like for our goods and stuff. We're fighting more than I think we can comprehend because we don't get the intelligence. We don't get the president's briefings. We're only getting the bits and pieces what they think the American people can handle. But meanwhile, things are happening behind the scenes that we need to be made aware of. And people got to get their emotions out of it. It's not about party. It's about your welfare of your families. It's about how you, at the end of the day, are you going to land on both feet? How's it going to affect you personally? Because they good. They millionaires, billionaires, they good. How are you going to land as things escalate? What happens if grocery stores become bare? Things happen during times like this. It's happened in the past. Look at history.
Why didn't you ask Joe Biden why he'd rather take care of people that aren't citizens than the homeless in America? There are questions for Joe Biden.
What did they say?
They were saying, who cares about empty airports and homeless states? Donnie Trump and his crew spending billions of war. Americans must also eat food.
You know what? The way I look at it, we can jump up and down, but I think we have bigger problems inside of this country because once the former party decided to open up those borders, they put us all at risk. We're facing things inside of this country that can be fought inside out, not far away over there in Iran. it can be fought here inside of this country. We have all sorts of people that are here now, not by the faults of the citizens of the United States, but because of the leadership, because they were desperate for votes. And I think what needs to happen now, I'll say it right now, every black person that support the Democratic Party, 93%, need to become independent. See, as long as we are just straight down Democratic Party, nothing's going to be done for our community. As long as they don't have to give, that's why everything's going to focus is on immigrants. When the last time you heard the Democratic Party talk about Americans, any Americans, not just black, I'm talking about black Americans, because our votes matter. And they don't have to work for it. They don't have to ask, they don't have to guarantee anything. It's just there. That's why they could give them $5,000 a month. And you know, that they were talking about they get $5,000 a month in cash benefits, $15,000, I hope that's not a month, in food stamps and SNAP benefits. But they don't want to give anything to black Americans who died and fought for this country and were enslaved. That's like, oh, we're not doing that, but we're giving billions. It costs us I think they said $450 billion a year with them here since they've been here. I'm talking about the new ones that came in, the ones who don't care about this country. And when they opened up the border, I never knew the names of Trinidad Raga. That wasn't it. I didn't even know anything about them or NS-13. I knew about the cartel. I knew about terrorists that came and took down our World Trade Centers. It was 19 of them. Now we got 350 here. We got 2.5 million gotaways. We got Venezuela empty out their prisons.
And they paying the Taliban.
And they paying the Taliban. They was paying them, what, $40 million cash payment per week? I'm like, why are they paying these people money? Untraceable cash payments. So there's a lot of things that are going on that we don't understand. And I don't understand. But one thing I do understand is that we need to wake up the Democratic Party who think that they have us down on lockdown. That when we become independent, then their focus will shift back to American people. Because if they lose this voting block that they're so reliant on, that they're so confident that we're too stupid to know that they're not going to do nothing for us, then they're going to continue the same bull crap. We need to be independent voters and vote by policy. Don't just vote for Democratic Party because they're Democratic Party. Vote for whichever party that's going to support you, period. We have to stop. We have to be thinkers and see this is chess. We need to learn how to play chess. And it's important. And in the long run, it's going to matter. You guys don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe to Speak the Truth 2.0. And like I was saying, this isn't scripted. I am going to probably get a teleprompter one day so it'll be more, polished. But I want to be raw. I'm not going to come on here be fake, to agree to disagree. I'm going to be who I am because it matters to me. It matters. Above getting super chats, above getting more subscribers. But whether you agree or disagree, at least maybe you might have just a little bit of respect for honesty. How about that? Honesty. It's rare. It's so rare now that people don't even expect it. People like being lied to. They rather go to a channel that's going to tickle their ears and talk about them and say whatever they want to hear. You know, sometimes we'll agree with everything you say, but then there might be times we don't agree with everything you say because no one agrees with everyone 100%, and you shouldn't expect it from any channel. I don't. I like being challenged. I like for someone to disagree with my viewpoints. Then I speak about what my convictions, how I feel, and that's what I say for people in the chat. You know, you don't have to shrink or dim your life for someone, but stand on 10 toes down for what you believe in, period. It's that simple. But right now we're waiting for Karoline Leavitt. I jumped on here. I didn't want to come on. So that's why I just put on Right Side for a little while because it went live and I didn't want it to go live yet. And it takes a lot to boot your channel back up. So I just went with it, but I wasn't ready for it. So she should be on any minute and she's going to give us briefing and hopefully more insight is what is actually happening in this war that we're in, or is this war going to grow deeper? Do they see an end to this war? You know, where are we at right now? Are we under threat? Is there a big threat, like they say, nuclear power that Iran is trying to achieve? Because the last I heard prior to that, when they had, I forget the operation that Trump called it.
Epic Fury.
Not the Epic Fury. It was one before when they said that they were trying to obtain nuclear weapons, and we bombed them. We went in like ghosts and came out like shadows before they knew we were in, and a mission was accomplished. Now it came around that they still have nuclear capabilities, and that's why now we're dealing with, Epic Fury.
The poll question should be: do you trust Iran with a nuke?
Yeah, do you trust Iran with a nuke? We're asking you guys. We didn't put that. Do you trust Iran with a nuke? Do you think the United States is moving in the right direction? Or should we just leave it alone like the rest of the world? Should we just leave things alone, mind our own business, and take care of what's happening here? And those are legitimate questions. Okay, she's on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Could you hear our amen in there? We just said a little loud prayer as a team. In this Holy Week, President Trump and the First Lady are joining in prayer with Christians celebrating the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Woo-hoo! On Wednesday, the President will host an Easter lunch in the East Room with faith leaders across the country to celebrate Holy Week. With respect to the ongoing major combat operations in Iran, Operation Epic Fury is moving ahead successfully and according to plan. With each passing day, the United States military is increasing its advantage over the terrorist Iranian regime. More than 11,000 enemy targets have been struck to date, each strike further crippling the regime's offensive and defensive capabilities and creating more leverage for the United States and our allies. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also decimating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 150 of their naval vessels so far, including 92% of their largest vessels. The Iranian Navy has no vessels operating in major regional waterways and no ability to project naval power, which is why they've been assessed as combat ineffective. Our military continues to obliterate Iran's defense industrial base, with nearly 70% of their missile, drone, and naval production facilities and shipyards damaged or destroyed thus far, significantly reducing their ability to pose future threats in the region. U.S. and Israeli joint forces control the skies and have asserted air dominance over Iran, completing more than 11,000 successful combat flights thus far. The trend remains clear. The United States is conducting more intense, targeted strikes with devastating combat power with each passing day to destroy the threat posed by the Iranian terrorist regime, as President Trump sought out to do a month ago. It's no surprise that we are seeing the remaining elements of the regime become increasingly eager to end the destruction and come to the negotiating table while they still can. Despite all of the public posturing you hear from the regime and false reporting, talks are continuing and going well. What is said publicly is of course much different than what's being communicated to us privately. As a result, President Trump issued a 10-day pause to postpone planned strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. This remains a truly once-in-a-generation opportunity for the regime to make a good deal with the United States, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and stop acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. If the Iranians reject this golden opportunity, the greatest military in the history of the world continues to stand by to provide President Trump with every option available to ensure this regime continues to pay a grave price. One way or another, Iran will no longer have the credible ability to threaten the United States or our allies, which is, of course, the overall objective and mission the president set out when he launched Operation Epic Fury. Unfortunately, even as President Trump is working hard every single day to protect the United States from foreign enemies, Democrats on Capitol Hill have failed to do the same here at home by keeping the Department of Homeland Security unfunded. Over the past 6 weeks, Democrats in Congress have pushed our air travel system to its breaking point and inflicted massive pain on Americans with their reckless political games. 500 TSA officers quit their jobs. Thousands more were calling out sick at record rates due to the lack of pay. This resulted in security wait times exceeding 3 hours at major airports across the country, creating nightmares for millions of Americans. Overall morale among TSA staff plummeted as well, all of this creating an unacceptable heightened security risk. Because of the Democrats' unwillingness to do their basic job of funding DHS, President Trump determined that these circumstances constituted an emergency, compromising American security. That's why last week he accordingly signed a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Homeland Security to work with the Director of the Office of Management and Budget here at the White House to use those funds with a reasonable and logical nexus to TSA operations to provide TSA employees with the compensation and benefits that would have accrued to them but for the Democrat-led DHS shutdown. This bold and necessary action by President Trump will ensure our TSA workers receive their hard-earned paychecks. It should not have come to this point, but President Trump will always do what's right by the American people, and he found a way to do that to get TSA paid. Ensuring that these federal workers who perform critical public safety responsibilities can feed their families, pay their rent, and show up to work is something the president was honored to do. But this moment should be an eye-opening one for the American people. Let's be clear about what is happening. Democrat members of Congress are more than happy to put your safety at risk because they oppose the president's and his administration's efforts to enforce our nation's immigration law. Democrats refuse to fund ICE because they want millions and millions of illegal aliens to pour into the country just like they were under the Biden administration. They want murderers and rapists and thugs to remain in your communities rather than be removed by ICE and Border Patrol agents. The Democrats created this mess. They are the reason for long lines at airports and tens of thousands of employees going without pay. Once again, President Trump is cleaning up their mess because he cares more about the American people than destructive, petty, partisan politics. With that, I will take your questions today. Here in our new media seat, we have Whit Lyman. Thank you for being here. And why don't you kick us off?
Thank you. Happy Easter.
Thank you. You as
Two
well.
questions for you. Thank you. There are some concerns the administration is starting to change its position on deportations, border enforcement, possibly asylum policies. What would you say to Americans that are somewhat concerned that the shift has happened?
Sure. Well, while there has, of course, been a change in leadership at the Department of Homeland Security with former Senator, now Secretary Mullen, joining the President's cabinet, I can assure the American people there has not been a change in policy. It has always been the policy of this President and this administration to deport the worst of the worst illegal alien criminals from our communities. That's something I know Secretary Mullen remains wholeheartedly committed to doing. And it's something that is overwhelmingly popular with the American people. And it's something that is necessary to protect our homeland and to prevent deaths of Americans in our country. Just last week, Sheridan Gorman, a young woman in Chicago, was shot and killed on the street walking with her friends outside of her university by an illegal alien from Venezuela who had no right to be here in the first place. And it's despicable that Democrats are currently defunding the department that's responsible for removing illegal aliens like that. And I would also add it's despicable that the lack of coverage of this young woman's case, of her life, and the way that it was tragically cut short. I saw a survey over the weekend that I'd like to bring to all of your attention. This is the media coverage of the case of Sheridan Gorman. You have ABC News has spent 1 minute and 19 seconds between 2 days when this case was first alerted. You have CBS, 2 minutes and 1 second. You have NBC, 23 seconds spent on the life of a young, beautiful American woman whose life was taken short by an illegal alien who should have never been here in the first place, when we are in the middle of a battle on Capitol Hill with a major political party, the Democrat Party, who wants to defund the agency that is responsible for protecting Americans. I think her life was worth more than 23 seconds on cable television, and I think the people in this room have a responsibility to report on cases like this because it just exemplifies why the president believes so strongly in deporting illegal aliens from our communities. And thank you for the question. Joshua, go ahead.
I have two questions, one on Iran and one on DHS funding. On Iran, the president has said that the administration is talking to a new and more reasonable regime. How confident are you that they are legitimate and have enough grip on power? Marco Rubio said earlier that he's not sure and it's not clear whether they will be in power. So Are you also talking to other factions? As the president is trying to make a deal, how do you ensure that you're making a deal with the people who can actually implement it?
Well, that's part of the ongoing process that's taking place and the ongoing negotiations. Of course, anything that they say to us privately will be tested, and we will ensure that they're being held accountable to their word. And if they are not, the president has laid out the military consequences that the Iranian regime will see if they don't hold true to the words that we are hearing privately behind the scenes. When the president says more reasonable, again, these folks are appearing more reasonable behind the scenes privately in these conversations than perhaps some of the previous leaders who are now no longer on planet Earth because they lied to the United States and they strung us along in negotiations, and that was unacceptable to the president, which is why many of the previous leaders were killed. So again, this is another historic opportunity for Iran to do the right thing, to rid themselves of their nuclear ambitions and to come to a deal with this president and the administration. Or again, they will see the grave consequences of the United States Armed Forces, which they are continuing to see every day throughout this operation.
DHS, how long can the administration keep paying TSA without action from Congress? And not to be hyperbolic, but given the airports were really the pain point that was pushing both sides to talk to each other. I mean, do you see a way for DHS to reopen? Is it possible that this keeps going through the midterms?
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, of course, the president just can't keep signing presidential memorandums and proclamations every time Congress fails to do its job and every time Democrats are holding our entire country hostage, picking and choosing which programs and agencies they want to fund just because they don't like this administration's policies. That's not how it's supposed to work. They voted 7 times against funding DHS over partisan and political reasons. And so, again, the president has stepped in to do the right thing at this moment in time, but the president is also encouraging Congress to come back to Washington to permanently fix this problem and to fund and reopen the Department of Homeland Security entirely.
Caroline.
Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions, one on TSA, one on Iran. On TSA, for ordinary Americans watching the briefing, how long until everything goes back to normal at airports after the president's action? And then on Iran, on the time frame, President Trump initially said about 4 weeks. Secretary of State Rubio on Friday reportedly said it might be another 2 to 4. Is 2 to 4 the current ballpark that the administration is thinking?
With respect to the timeline, again, the president, commander-in-chief, the Pentagon has always stated 4 to 6 weeks estimated timeline for Operation Epic Fury. We're on day 30 today. So again, you do the math on how much longer the Pentagon needs to fully achieve the objectives of Operation Epic Fury, which I will reiterate: destroy the Iranian Navy, destroy their ballistic missiles, dismantle their missile and drone production infrastructure, significantly weaken their proxies throughout the course of this operation, and then of course preventing Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. To your first question, Stephen, about TSA and airports, nothing will be truly normal again until Democrats do the right thing to fund this agency fully. Again, the president has stepped in the meantime to do what's right to end this crisis that we've had at air travel and at airports across the country in the meantime. But again, Congress needs to come back. Democrats need to fund the Department of Homeland Security so we can formally and fully get these great employees paid long into the future. Jonathan?
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions regarding the financial costs of the war. Back during the Persian Gulf War, 1990, 1991, Arab countries paid for the vast majority of the costs of the war. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. Who's paying for the cost of this war? Will those Arab countries step up to do just that?
Well, I think it's something the president would be quite interested in calling them to do. I won't get ahead of him on that, but certainly it's an idea that I know that he has and something that I think you'll hear more from him on.
And then secondly, the cost of diesel is averaging at $5.38 a gallon right now. What's the message from the Trump administration to truck drivers who are dealing with those high fuel costs right now?
Again, we understand, we hear you, we see you, we are fully tracking this short-term fluctuation in oil and in diesel prices, and that's why the president and the administration have continually announced robust actions to provide stability in the global energy market. As you know, political risk insurance, one of those actions, allowing countries to purchase sanctioned oil just to increase the supply in the meantime. We've worked to release 400 billion barrels of oil and refined products as well. We issued the 60-day Jones Act waiver. All of this has, with the goal of increasing supply to create stabilization in the market in the meantime. But the overall message, as we've repeatedly stated, is again, these are short-term actions and short-term price fluctuations for the long-term benefit of ending the threat that Iran poses to the United States of America, our troops, and our allies in the region, and ensuring that this regime can no longer control the world's free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz, which is something the administration continues to tackle day by day as well.
Just two questions. Which Jennifer? I'll go to both. Go ahead. So two questions. One on China and one on Iran. On China, ahead of the president's trip to Beijing, will there be a working level meeting with Secretary Bessent, Jameson Greer, et cetera, and when will that be?
I do expect cabinet officials to travel to China ahead of time. I don't have a readout on their schedules for you, but this is something we typically do with international travel, as you know. So I'll talk to the Treasury Department and the cabinet myself, and we'll get you that answer. But we do expect them to move ahead of time.
Okay, and thank you. And on Iran, if Iran is kind of cherry picking what tankers get to go through the strait now and contemplating big tolls on those tankers, is that consistent, or how is that consistent really with the president's message about really wanting the strait to be fully open? Does the administration support a regime or system where Iran is effectively charging tolls on these vessels to access?
That's not something we support, and I would reject that they are cherry picking. In fact, as you know, these tankers that are moving through, the 10 that were previously announced and now the new 20, the announcement of 20 additional tankers, which we expect to see over the coming days, are a result of the direct and indirect talks that are taking place between the United States and Iran. So you wouldn't have seen those tankers if not for the president's diplomacy and his team engaging on this matter, which we expect that compliance moving forward. And it's, again, something that we're working on very closely.
Sure. And behind you, in the back right there, you put up your hand very excitingly. Go ahead.
Yeah, from News Nation. Thank you. Thanks for taking my question. I have two for you real quick. There are reports that Republicans are weighing cuts to healthcare in order to make way for that $200 billion for the Pentagon and Operation Epic Fury. Is that a trade-off that President Trump supports?
I've seen these reports. I haven't spoken to the president about it, nor have I heard this being discussed in any high-level meetings here at the White House. I don't want to weigh in definitively because I just haven't heard that being discussed here in the West Wing.
And then secondly, I know President Trump says we're ahead of schedule in achieving his military objectives in Iran. He laid out that 4 to 6 week timetable for this conflict, and we're now within week 5. So how do you square kind of those two?
Well, 4 to 6 weeks estimated timeline. Again, you just said we're on day 30 of the operation. I just provided you with some of the updates from the Pentagon directly in achieving the objectives, and the military has been enormously successful. I think we should all be very proud of our armed forces for what they have done over the past 30 days. The mission will continue until the objectives are achieved, and that 4 to 6 week timeline does remain right now. I don't have any updates for you on that.
Yeah, like others, one on TSA, one on Iran. On Iran, I know it's tough to engage in hypotheticals, but I feel like this is one that you could engage in. If the president does seek, if the president does seek, or the United States seeks a ground war, does he intend to get congressional authorization of that launch?
The president has been asked about boots on the ground or alleged ground operations various times. He's obviously declined to rule them out. It's the Pentagon's job to provide maximum optionality to the president. It does not mean he's made a decision, nor would he ever notify the media of such decision as not to tip off our enemy. With respect to abiding by Congress and the rule of law, that's something the administration will, of course, always do. And it's something that we have great respect for Congress. The president does with military operations. In fact, prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury, as you know, the administration gave a courtesy notice to Congress in the Gang of Eight, and top-level administration officials and cabinet secretaries have gone to Congress multiple times over the past 30 days to provide those courtesy briefings to Congress when requested.
TSA quickly, I've been asked by multiple Trump supporters that have said, given the fact that the president on that Friday gave that memorandum informing DHS to pay TSA workers, I know there's a lot of negotiations involved in a shutdown of this size. Why did the president not sooner issue that payment to TSA workers?
Well, it's because of the Democrats voting 7 times against reopening the Department of Homeland Security that we came to a place of an existential crisis. I mean, you saw the lines at various major airports across the country, American travelers really paying the price for Democrats' partisan games. And so the president worked with his legal team here at the White House and the Office of Management and Budget to find a solution to take care of the emergency that we were seeing in air travel across the country. And it's because of the president that TSA agents are being paid. But again, he's calling on Congress to do the right thing, to come back to Washington and to fund and reopen the Department of Homeland Security fully. Sure.
Hi, Lindsay Ellis from the Wall Street Journal. I'm trying to square the 4 objectives laid out by the administration with the goal of reopening fully the Strait of Hormuz. Would President Trump declare victory and wind down military operations if the 4 objectives are met, but still passage remains quite slow through the strait?
Look, as I've said repeatedly and as the president has laid out, the objectives of Operation Epic Fury are as follows: destroying the Iranian Navy, destroying their ballistic missiles, dismantling their defense industrial infrastructure that produces those weapons that have long threatened the United States and our allies, and then of course preventing Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. The full reopening of the strait is something the administration is working towards, but the core objectives of the operation have been clearly defined for the American people by the Commander-in-Chief.
The President posted this morning about his threat that on leaving Iran, he said we might be blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, Hard Island, and possibly all desalinization plants. Under international law, striking civilian infrastructure like that is generally prohibited. Why is the president threatening what would amount to potentially a war crime with the U.S. military? And how do you square that with the administration repeatedly saying that the U.S. does not target civilians?
Look, the president has made it quite clear to the Iranian regime at this moment in time, as evidenced by the statement that you just read, that their best move is to make a deal, or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination, and the president is not afraid to use them. That's not what I said, Garrett. And you're saying the word potential for a reason, because I'm sure some experts are telling you that in your ear to try to ask me that question. Of course, this administration and the United States Armed Forces will always act within the confines of the law. But with respect to achieving the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump is going to move forward unabated, and he expects the Iranian regime to make a deal with the administration.
To that end, which of those objectives would destroying the desalinization plant most help?
Haley, go ahead.
Thanks, Ron. I want to follow up on Ron. When you're describing that the Iranians you're in contact with are being more reasonable this time around in discussions, what specifically are you hearing that is leading you to that conclusion, and how are you defining what's reasonable versus government support?
I'm not going to detail the private and sensitive conversations that are taking place between the United States and Iran right now.
But generally speaking.
Generally speaking, the president gave you the answer. What we're hearing from them is more reasonable. They have agreed to some of the points the United States laid out, as the president said last night aboard Air Force One. But again, as for the specifics, as these negotiations are ongoing, we're not going to broadcast them to the world unless the president chooses to do so, which he has the full right to do as the leader of the free world.
On Cuba, the president threatened to tariff any country that would send oil to Cuba, but now the U.S. is letting this Russian tanker to Cuba. Is this a policy change, or is he willing to let more tankers into Cuba?
This is not a policy change. There has not been a formal change in sanction policy. As the president said last night, we allowed this ship to reach Cuba in order to provide humanitarian needs to the Cuban people. These decisions are being made on a case-by-case basis. And as the administration has said, Cuba's non-functional economy cannot be fixed unless they undergo dramatic political and leadership change. But there has been no formal change with respect to sanction policy.
So you could expect more tankers to go to Cuba?
Again, these decisions are being made on a case-by-case basis right now.
Thanks, Karoline. You addressed this a little bit in the opening, but just to follow up, because Americans are sort of seeing these conflicting messages between the United States and Iran. I know the president insists that negotiations are underway, as as you just mentioned, he's also said that Iran has agreed to most of the 15 points. We just heard from Iran again, they're saying no negotiations are taking place. They're calling the proposal excessive, unrealistic. So how do you square that? How do you explain that discrepancy between the two?
I think the American people are smart enough not to take the word of a terrorist regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years at their word. And I hope the journalists in this room are wise enough not to take an Iranian regime that has repeatedly lied about our country, about our values, about everyone in this room, frankly, for nearly 5 decades. So I think the American public are smart enough to understand that.
Just to follow up on the objectives, you laid them out, but I know the president has set a deadline for April 6th in just 1 week. What does the president need to see to not move forward with those strikes by April 6th?
Well, I think he said it in his Truth Social post this morning. He wants to see a deal over the next 10 days. That timeline is waning, several days left, and we'll see. I won't get ahead of it. We'll see what happens in the end of the 10-day period.
Caroline, thank you. One on Iran, one on the shutdown. The president continues to say the U.S. is in conversations with a more reasonable regime, but there are now hundreds of U.S. Special Operations Forces, including Navy SEALs and Army Rangers in the Middle East, as well as thousands of other troops already deployed. So is he trying to end or intensify the conflict?
The president is focused on achieving the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. With respect to forces that are on the ground in the Middle East, it's the job of the Pentagon to create maximum optionality for the commander-in-chief. It does not mean the president has made any additional decisions. Again, he remains focused on ensuring that the Pentagon continues to achieve the objectives of the operation that was launched 30 days ago, and we're well on our way to doing that.
So if an American sitting at home hearing him say, I want to talk, but I keep seeing them send troops to that region, what are they to make of what's going on?
There's 2 tracks here. The president has always said that diplomacy is his #1 option and priority. Again, he tried earnestly, in good faith, to engage in diplomacy with the Iranian regime prior to this operation being launched in the first place. He wanted to strike a deal, and he sent his top negotiators to do so. They spent extensive amount of time and effort trying to strike a deal, and unfortunately, the previous regime, again, many of those leaders no longer with us here on Earth because they faced the consequences of the United States military. So if there's ever a chance for a deal, again, the president is open to listening, but it does not deter him from focusing on the military objectives that he set out 30 days ago and that our military is continuing to achieve day by day.
On the shutdown, he signed the national emergency order last Thursday, making sure TSA officers will be paid. There's still other civilian DHS employees, however, who are not being paid.
Yes.
He signed something similar to ensure they also get
Look,
paid?
the president will always look into ways that we can make sure that the American people are being taken care of and doing what's right by the American people. But again, it's ridiculous that the president even has to go to the length of working with the legal team and the Office of Management and Budget to identify these funds. It is the job of Congress to fund these agencies. And Democrats in Congress have voted 7 times against funding the Department of Homeland Security. Congress should come back and they should get it done. The president, again, made the decision to prevent this existential crisis we were seeing at our nation's airports across the country that was only going to get worse. And that's why he wants Congress to do his job.
Thank you, Caroline. Since you mentioned,
I'll go to you as well.
Okay. Since you mentioned Easter and prayers, I wanted to ask you about something the Pope said yesterday. So Pope Leo said yesterday, and I quote him, "God does not listen to the prayer of those who wage war." Can you comment on that?
I think our nation was a nation founded 250 years ago almost on Judeo-Christian values, and we've seen presidents, we've seen the leaders of the Department of War, and we've seen our troops go to prayer during the most turbulent times in our nation's history. And I don't think there's anything wrong with our military leaders or with the president calling on the American people to pray for our service members and those who are serving our country overseas. In fact, I think it's a very noble thing to do. And if you talk to many service members, they will tell you they appreciate the prayers and support from the Commander-in-Chief and from his cabinet.
Caroline, thank you. President Trump told the New York Post that a response is coming shortly to Tehran attacking Israel's largest oil refinery. Is there a timeline on that? Is that tied to the success or not of the negotiations?
I don't have any updates for you on the president's comments.
Some say the IRGC in control of Iran.
Well, look, as Secretary Rubio said today, the leadership is very fragmented. We have really neutered their intercommunication systems, and that's part of this process of diplomacy to continue figuring out exactly who's in charge. I know they appointed a new Ayatollah, haven't seen or heard much from him, and so that's part of this diplomatic process that's underway right now. I'll take a few more. Solon.
Thank you. You listed the described humanitarian reasons for allowing that oil tanker to reach Cuba. Just to clarify, why was the administration okay with Russia sending that oil to Cuba and not other nations?
Look, again, this was a decision. It'll continue to be made on a case-by-case basis for humanitarian reasons or otherwise, but there's been no firm change in our sanctions policy.
President Sheinbaum of Mexico also said that Mexico is exploring different ways to restart some of those shipments to Cuba. Is the administration okay with that at this time?
Again, there's been no change in our sanction policy. We still reserve the right to seize vessels if it's legally applicable that are headed towards Cuba and that violate the United States sanction policy. But of course, the president and the administration also reserve the right to waive those seizures on a case-by-case basis.
And to clarify, just any more Russian oil tankers going to be allowed to reach Cuba at this time? I know you said case by case, but for the case of Russia, is it pretty much green light right now?
No, that's not what I said. It's a case-by-case basis. Sure, Jeff, go ahead.
Switching topics, the president has always attended CPAC. He did not this year. Why did he not attend, and does he believe CPAC is becoming less relevant?
No, I don't think he believes that at all. In fact, he loves CPAC and has a very good relationship with the great people who run it, Mercedes and Matt Schlatt. It was just simply for scheduling purposes this year, with it being in Texas. It was best for the president's schedule and what he has on his plate right now not to go. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. If and when a deal is finalized with Iran, how does the U.S. provide protection to who it's negotiating with to ensure that they can carry out the president's peace plan?
Again, that's something I'm sure our national security team is discussing. I don't have anything for you on that today.
Right out of the ballroom, can you tell us more about this massive military complex underneath the president's new ballroom?
I cannot tell you more about that, actually, as a matter of fact. However, the military is making some upgrades to their facilities here at the White House, and I'm not privy to provide any more details on that at this time. Go ahead. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. Question on the Middle East and then a question on Antifa. Netanyahu said Sunday that Cardinal Pizzaballa will be able to hold services for Palm Sunday in the Church of Holy Sepulchre after he was initially blocked by Israeli police. Did anyone from the administration or the president call over to Israeli officials to assist the cardinal in this?
Yes, I did speak with Secretary Rubio this morning, and we did express our concerns with Israel with respect to these holy sites being shut down. We want worshipers to be able to access these holy sites. Of course, safety is a top priority, but we understand Israel is working on those security measures to reopen the sites throughout Holy Week, and that's something that we're appreciative of.
In Texas, 9 people have been convicted by a federal jury on domestic terrorist charges connected to Antifa. The White House has previously indicated that you guys are investigating Antifa, who's funding them, who's leading them. Can you provide an update on how that investigation is going? And do you think we're going to see more charges against people connected to Antifa?
Well, I do know that there was an entire task force that was set up, an interagency task force to focus on the threat of Antifa, which, as you know, Reagan, this president declared a domestic terrorist organization rightfully, and we will continue to look into it. I don't have any updates on those specific investigations, but I'd be happy to have my team get those over to you today, as this continues to be of the utmost importance to the president and his domestic policy agenda.
On one question on landmines, there's been some reporting that American-made landmines have been spotted on the ground in Iran. Did President Trump sign off on using U.S.-made landmines in Iran?
I don't have any comment on that report today.
Whether they're being used at all?
I don't have any comment on that.
Caroline.
To on DHS, you said that the president is encouraging Congress to come back to DC. You also said yourself. How has he done that? Has he told leadership that they should cancel recess and come back?
He said it repeatedly. I think you recall, he said that he'll host a big Easter dinner here at the White House if Congress will come back and fight the Democrats on this issue, which we should do, because again, the Democrat Party is in the wrong here. They have voted 7 times against funding the Department of Homeland Security, which is completely egregious with everything we have going on in the world. And these brave men and women who serve DHS deserve to get their paychecks. The president wants to see that happen, and he wants Congress to come back to get it done.
Thank you. Wow, that was a lot. You guys, I'm sorry, I was eating some pumpkin seeds. But anyway, that was a rapid news conference. She was like prepared. She was ready for it. We're going to look at the poll. Do you support U.S. boots on the ground in Iran? What's that? 32% says yes, or 31% says yes. That just changed to 69% says no. So, wow. So now it's 32% says yes, they do support. But the majority of the people so far that are taking the poll do not support us having boots on the ground. I think that most people, because the loss of life, they rather have it be fought from the air. Like have the drones. Like we can use drones now. We have other methods that you don't have to send the Marines in and put them in danger with these landmines. And they're waiting for it. It's like everything's being seen now. Before you had an advantage because you could attack without the enemy knowing that you were going to attack. Now we announced it on world media. Oh, we're going to go in. We're going to send the Marines in. So guess what? You just told them to prepare. However they slice it, you just told them we're coming. So what is someone going to do? They're going to prepare to defend their land, to defend their position. So there's no surprise now. Now they can put landmines in. They know the ports where they will have to use to come in at. And guess what? They're going to be waiting for them. So the Marines that are going in, they're going to be put in danger before they even have boots on the ground because it's being told to the world we're going in. I think that's a disadvantage. I think that when you are going to fight someone, you don't let them know you're coming for them because you have a better chance of winning because of being surprised, surprising them. So I'm not comfortable with them going in right now because these people in Iran, the leaders or whoever's fighting, they don't play fair. They're not going to have a clean war. They're going to come for them. And I think that's more dangerous when you do with this type of regime. It's not like a war with Russia and Ukraine. Even though it's a war, it's somewhat a more civilized war. The war with the Iranians, they fight differently. You might even think they fight dirty. I think they're more treacherous. That's just how I personally feel. So I don't think letting them know that you're going to come in, we might have more people, we might have more bombs, but we're going on their turf. And anybody that's been in a gang or anything like that, okay, if this gang come into my turf, then we know how to wipe them out because now you're coming into our house. Now you're coming into our neighborhood. Now you're coming in where we can defeat you because you don't know the back alleys like us. You don't know the safe houses that we have. You don't know the roofs or how we can attack you. And I feel like that's a disadvantage announcing it. Like saying, okay, we already been fighting it by air, but now we're saying we're going to send troops in. So they're already sending people in. And when is that going to stop? How many lives are going to be lost? Because they're sending them in to fight. So I'm not comfortable. I'd rather for it to be fought by the drones. But what's the end game? Nobody's saying, what's the end game? How are we going to end this war? What's the end game? Because the longer it goes on, just like the Russia and the Ukrainian war, they didn't expect it to be going on. It's like probably 4 years now. It's an endless war. See, these wars start and then they become, we can defeat them or we'll get it done. And then it becomes months and then it becomes years. And hopefully that's not the direction that we're heading into, because this is not like open and shut case right now. And then you have Russia is supporting Iran. They're supporting them. China is supporting Russia. China wants Taiwan. If they decide to go in for Taiwan, we're busy supporting Ukraine. We sent them all kinds of monies, all kinds of weapons, and then we're fighting using our weaponry in for this war in Iran. And they're saying that we're at the rate that China's building like 1,000 submarines or whatever to our one. I'm just saying that we're not even building the weapons at the rate we need to. So what if they go in and they start? Then the United States, even though we are the most powerful country in the world, how are we going to fight everybody at the same time? And where are our allies? Because they all vanished. All the allies that the United States is supposed to have, they're not supporting this attack on Iran. They're not supporting it. UK is not standing 10 toes down. A lot of these people from when they had their meetings in NATO, they're not supporting us. They're not. They hanging in the background, allowing us to go at it. They're letting it, like always, they're letting the United States fight by himself. Yeah, it's a ball of confusion. I think we need to really take a look at it. Even Congress is not supporting this. This wasn't a war that was decided by Congress. So you don't have even the support of Congress saying that it's justified to have this war. So, and then we got Congress fighting against ICE, about ICE removing illegal operations inside this country. I'm talking about illegal, I can't call them citizens, non-citizens. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on. And right now, they don't want to protect the voting rights because they always put up, well, it's going to stop people who are citizens. It's going to disable them to be able to vote. No, it's not. No, it's not. The same people who always vote going to vote because everybody doesn't vote. So we need to protect our elections because at the end of the day, I do not want our elections determined by people who aren't citizens. And I believe that Black people all need to become independent because we don't receive anything but a lot of words, and they to the point they don't even promise us anything at all. Last election, they only promised what? Abortions. At the DNC, they were giving abortions. They promised Black men weed. When a lot of states, weed is legal anyway. You got people that they put in jail for 30 years for marijuana. That's crazy. This is how it works. And I think at this point, we need to let the Democrats know you don't have our votes on lockdown. If you're not going to do nothing for us, then we're not voting for Democrats. We're going to vote for the party that's going to support what we want. Like passing laws, anti-hate crime bills, the John Lewis bill, the George Floyd bill. Do something for Black Americans. They've done more for non-citizens than for Black Americans because they say we don't have to do anything for them. We want this new voting block, so we'll get them everything that should have went to Black Americans. So y'all still have nothing.
Okay. Y'all's making weed legal an issue. You rather people go to prison for weed?
They have. That's what they've been doing for years.
Y'all said them making weed is the biggest issue.
It's stupid. You know that people have been in jail for decades for weed that are Black, for weed that they made it legalized when they want to make it big business. Now, a lot of states, I know when I was in Portland, it's like you can go shopping like in the supermarket. I think in New Jersey, weed is legal. It's a lot of states that it's legal. It's legal. So that's not what that doesn't do anything for the economy or help a family to prosper. It doesn't do anything at all. So they offered nothing. So we need to vote independent. Become an independent. That's going to be my goal and my campaign for Black people to become independent. That the Democratic Party they don't even focus on American citizens at all. I'm not talking about just Black. They don't even focus on us. They're focused on legalizing non-citizens and they want to make sure that people who aren't a citizen of this country are allowed to vote to determine our elections. I don't want that. Because people died to vote. Black people died to be able to vote. People lost their lives to be able to vote. We're not just giving that away. That's precious, and it matters. And I want my vote to count. I don't want my vote being decided, my elections to be decided from people who aren't even citizens here. That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't agree with Trump with a lot of things. And I know Save America Act has a lot to do with a lot of things. And I know everybody tries to twist and put in what they want inside our voting system. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to make sure people are legally getting into office, that there's no cheating. But there's no way that people aren't a citizen of a country should be allowed to vote. That's a fact. And the only reason why we have these problems now is because of those open borders that were allowed from the previous administration. Everything we're dealing with inside this country is what they did to this country. And it's affecting us now, and it's going to continue to affect us.
Well, if you actually look at, I know you're trying to be insulting, but if you actually look it up, Jasmine Crockett is very educated.
What did he say?
They were saying, all right, you the next Jasmine Crockett, question mark. They're doing that as an unlocking.
Look, no, I'm not. Look, God, I'm perfectly wonderfully made. I stand on who I am. Look for me. Okay? I'm whatever God created. Jasmine Crockett is not an insult. She's articulate. She's a lawyer. She's super intelligent. She went to private school. I don't know why she dumbed herself down and dimmed her light. The woman is super intelligent. And guess who wanted to make sure everybody knew it? Benny Johnson. And he's somewhat of a racist. They want to let everybody know that she's faking it. That she's really comes from prestigious background, prestigious schools, have prestigious education. She's not dumb. She's a smart, intelligent woman. And she did not have to dumb herself down for anybody. I would never do that for anyone, ever. But if that's God's goal for me, to have a voice and to speak up, then I will. I'm an activist. I've had, hundreds of rallies. I represented hundreds of thousands of people. I've given speeches in places with thousands of people to hear my voice. And online, on this channel, we've had over 19 million people that's been on this channel. And this channel is new and it's not polished. And a lot of work has to be done, but people listen. So if I ever run or campaign, then I will, if it's needed. But being quiet is not an option. We need people who are actually for the people, that have no skin in the game, that can't be paid off by that they buy them out or whatever. That's when people get twisted. It becomes about the money and not about the people.
Someone said, I love Benny Johnson. I've never got any racist hints coming from him.
Oh, Benny Johnson was so happy when Trump removed Black Lives Matter mural or whatever and why. He was there. He was so happy. He was just bubbling. Yeah, we're getting rid of this black stuff. He was over the top for that. Over the top. He was so eager to think, oh, we're going to be in charge again. We're getting rid of Black Lives Matter. What messed it up was greed and the wrong people in charge. The issues were real. But when people get greedy, and then they were LGBTQ, it was all messed up. The people that was running it, they messed it up. But the message was real. And it's sad how bad intentions could take down great ideas. When people can be paid off. Those people were not about the people. They became about themselves. And when people become about themselves, then it falters. And that's what happened. And he was eagerly happy watching the demolition. He like, he felt like we got our country back. We getting rid of this Black Lives Matter. Because Black lives, in his viewpoint, they shouldn't matter. And the only reason why they came out, because all these unjust killings that were happening, not to Black criminals. You couldn't be stopped at a freaking stoplight without losing your life. You couldn't Little boys couldn't play in the park like Tamir Rice without being shot. You couldn't be in your house playing video games with your nephew without being shot.
Look what this goofball he said, Noah. He said, body cams turned the entire narrative around. You guys just don't know how to act.
That what?
He said, body cams turned the entire narrative around. You guys, referring to black people, just don't know how to act.
You know what? It's so easy. So you know how to act. Let me tell your history of this country. Because we're not the criminals and we're not the thugs, but the media got you. Mainstream media got you. Because they can make you believe whatever they want you to believe. Who the real thugs in this country? Who's been to all the presidents except for one black president that wasn't even for black people? He came up with a whole new branch of people. LGBTQ was birthed out of Obama's presidency. So you want me to go real? Every time I go real, I lose people on here. When I say who the real thugs are,
who wiped out?
Who really has done? Who wiped out nations?
Who wiped out almost the entire race of people?
So we're not going to talk about that. But you know what? They always want to make us the face. When they talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, they always want to talk about trying to act like it's black people. When black people benefited the least out of all ethnicities, we benefited the least. White women were the number one, and I'll say this forever, that benefited from DEI. Those people those women that Trump has sitting in his administration, they DEI hires. But y'all don't know it. They DEI hires. But see, black people, when we in positions, we got to work twice as hard. We have to have masters, PhDs. We got to be the top of our classes. And we are still looked at side-eyed like something was given to us. When that's a lie from hell. Nothing is ever given to us.
It's always people talk most stuff that don't got a profile picture.
But it's good. That's the media. I believed it too. When I watched the media, I used to believe them too. I was like, oh, look at these black people. Look what they doing. Didn't know. We're not the ones. It's never been us. We're kind, loving, caring. We built this nation. Our ancestors died building this nation. They were enslaved. They were mistreated. They were gutted. They were shackled. They were in the concept, I think they said black people 1/5 or what a man was, how many 1/5 of a human or whatever? Yeah. I got to look that up. I forget.
Yeah, and delete, and I'm Egyptian.
So it's a lot that's happened, but we're not mad about it because we're strong. We're kings and queens. We know who we are. That's why we've always a threat just by existing. Black people were the first people on this earth. Everybody comes from a black woman. Look your history up.
Eric, didn't you tell me who has went? I'm not trying to have this kind of conversation, but he said that stop acting like black people are the only one that goes through stuff.
You know what? It's funny. So we didn't build anything. Check out your history. You're not from here. You obviously don't know about slavery. You obviously don't even know who built that White House. You don't obviously know that black people were enslaved and brought to this nation. We're the only ones in the Constitution that has a right to be here. Not those people that just landed here and gave birth here. They don't. That's what Trump's trying to say. They don't even have a right to say that they're American citizens because you had a baby here. That was written for black Americans. Foundational black Americans. Not people that came from Haiti, Jamaica. No, foundational black Americans. That's who we are.
You obviously don't know what the Statue of Liberty actually represents.
Yeah, the Statue of Liberty was made for black people, not for immigrants to come into this country. They try to say, oh, you come and see the statue. No, if you look behind the Statue of Liberty, it has chains that they try to hide around the ankles. They sent that over from France for black Americans. That was for us. But you know how they do history. They have you believe whatever they want you to believe. And guess what? People can't handle the truth. They don't really want to know what the real deal is. But yeah, we built this nation. Were you enslaved? Were you shackled? Were you denied all human rights? Were you sold? Were your children sold into slavery? Were they shackled? Were they beaten? Were they killed? Were they hung? Were they lynched? Did y'all go through all of that? And did y'all work from sun up to sundown? Were y'all beaten? Denied every type of human existence? So don't say that. You can say whatever you want to, but don't take away what my ancestors went through.
Now in the comments,
it's in history books. It's real. There are people that are alive today that have experienced those type of horrific atrocities. that were put on them.
And our whole family's military, but now everyone in the comments is saying, were you enslaved?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. But that does not mean I'm supposed to ignore what happened to my. Do you ignore what happened to your forefathers? Are you supposed to say, oh, well, it's not you? Like their lives didn't matter. They had a God-given right, just like I do, to have lived their life and reach the potentials that God had for them to reach that was stumped out. And they're not going to be forgotten. They have a right to be remembered, just like the Holocaust. The people who didn't go through the Holocaust, but they have ancestors, but they still remember. We still remember. That's our right. We're not experiencing what our ancestors, but that does not mean we don't experience still prejudice and racism and things like that.
Tell me about it.
So that's who we hold people accountable for, people with their behaviors today. But a lot of it is fear. A lot of it comes from when people feel like, okay, I feel more comfortable with you being lesser than me. That's comfortability that we don't offer. We're educated, articulate, we're engineers, doctors, lawyers, multimillionaires, billionaires, we're entrepreneurs. And guess what? Everybody copies us, from swag to dance to clothing to rhythm to pop to rock to country music to everything. Everybody around the world copies foundational Black Americans. They all copy us. Everybody does.
Yeah, the elite.
While they try to talk about, but guess what? You want to be cool like us. You want to have our swag.
The elite, you're just making all that up. You're not Native American.
And there are Black people, of course, that were Native Americans, just to let you know. And what you don't know from history books, Black people were already here. We were already here. They said Columbus discovered. You don't discover something that people are already living in a country. Black people were already here. Look at all the Aztec, all that, big lips, all that. That everything that they show you is a description of Black people, because we were the first people on this earth.
Because he's trying to say Black people went at Native Americans too, and that the hate that we get Native Americans is equal to every race hating on them.
I don't understand what
he's trying to say, that not only white people did the natives wrong. He's saying Black people.
Well, Black people never had control.
Yeah.
Black people never controlled anything in this country. When we tried to do Black Wall Street, they burnt it down. Anything we tried, banks, they burned it down. Anything we try to do, we haven't controlled anything. Like this $38 trillion deficit, it ain't our fault, because we never controlled anything. The people that have been in charge haven't been us. The things that's going on, it's not our fault. It hasn't been us.
Black people are too busy being slaves.
That's not even funny.
It's not.
But it's not our fault, the things that have transpired. But what we want to do is do better. What we want is to have this country do right by us. That still hasn't happened. They have done more for non-citizens than people who have built this country. And that happens to be us. Because the last I heard, the only people that have been enslaved were Black people.
Yeah.
Was us.
He said now slave trade is still active today in Africa. Is that American?
We're not talking about Africa. We're talking about here. I'm talking about here. Here. It's atrocities happening all over the world to Christians, people being enslaved, people being sex trafficked, all these horrific things that we, everyday people, we can't control that. But hopefully we can put the right people in office that fight against these atrocities to stop it. But we only can control what we can control. And that's why I say, especially Black Americans, we need to become independent.
That's the first.
Let people earn our vote. Stop allowing the Democratic Party that I always have belonged to, that I fought for. You can see me with Biden. I like, you just look at somebody over, you see me with President Biden. I've been with Obama, Bernie Sanders, every kind of Black leader. I could go on. I could show y'all a whole lot of videos and stuff with me being a legislative director in the company, being at the White House, being in the halls of Congress, all of that. Me giving speeches and all these things, having rallies, sitting at executive boards with other powerful, guess what, white men. And I'm sitting around, I have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's more to me than you realize. I try to fight for what's right for everybody.
Yeah, someone in the comments was saying, like, like I'm Native American, and I are in the same boat, and talking about how bad they did natives and black people.
But people don't want to admit to a lot of things, and it's not a knock out of anyone. You're not responsible. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe to Speak the Truth 2.0. We don't hold anybody in today's time responsible for what their ancestors have done in the past. I think that when we talk about these subjects, especially my white brothers and sisters, they think that we are mad at them or taking it out on them when we're not. We're not holding you accountable for what your ancestors did to my ancestors. That's not it at all. So that's why we don't have to run for the truth, and you don't have to feel like we're attacking you, because we're not. We're just speaking the truth. It had nothing to do with you. So we do not hold you accountable. No, what we do hold you accountable is your actions today, where you stand at today.
No one's being racist.
Knowing the truth. That's what happened in the past is not your fault, period. And that's not what we're saying. It's not. Receive that. Receive that from a Black American. We don't hold it against you, but somehow they make the narrative, like when we mention reparations, we mention anything, like we're holding them. We're not holding you responsible, because you weren't even alive then. Neither were we.
See, that's what Trump has been wanting people to forget about the past.
They want to forget.
He said stop focusing on past, focus on now.
But you can't, because your history, you don't want history to repeat itself. You can't sleep the stuff that's going on, because things come back around. You have to stand 10 toes down for what you believe in. You can't be quiet. I forget to quote that Dr. Martin Luther King said, like, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It's like, when you're saying nothing, you're just as guilty, because you're not speaking up for what's right. You have to speak up. That's why this is called, when I started this channel, God gave me the name. I had to keep the name, even though it's still somebody else kind of had a name. I had to make it Speak the Truth 2.0, because I'm speaking into existence. You have to speak the truth. We're speaking the truth.
Well, just
2.0.
Just like she said, if you don't talk about the past, then you pretty much are forgetting about the past.
If you don't talk about it, then that's how things continue as they are. You have to speak up about it. And that shows your character. That shows your integrity. That shows who you are. Who are you? You know, what do you stand for? Do you just stand for a party because you voted for a party? That, like, no matter what that party does, make it right. I'm a leader. So it's not in me. I'm not a follower. I'm a leader. I can't do it. I can't follow you if you can't lead. I can't. That's who I am. I'm not made that way. But some people, they can follow no matter what people say. You know, they just go along whether they agree or not. They might not agree with abortion, but they still go along with it. They might not agree with same-sex marriages, but they go along with it. Those are your convictions. They might not agree with men and women's sports. They go along with it. How many times you going to keep going along with stuff? They might not agree with injustices that are done to people, but they go along with it because of party. Why? As you follow Christ. Yeah, thank you, Endure. Because, see, we're not, like I said many times, we're not beholden to man. We're beholden to God. I stand with Jesus. He's my Lord and Savior. And I'm not doing right by y'all on here. I'm doing right by God, because I got to stand before God, and he's going to run this back to me. Because when you stand before God, he'll run back your whole life. And a lot of it, I don't even want to see. I'm like, God, please, can you skip over that part?
Now Eric said, you are using the past as what's happening now. As a leader, you have the obligation to know that what you're saying can be damaging to the future, especially if what you're saying is wrong.
Well, if anything I'm saying is wrong, then you tell me what I said that was wrong.
Yeah.
You fact check what I have said, because this isn't scripted. This is not teleprompter. Like Karoline Leavitt, she had the capability of standing there with her whole written script. She was brief. She had the president's ear, and she was his spokesperson. That's not here. I'm not brief. I'm not using a script. I'm not using ChatGPT. I'm not using, I think this is going to be something in the past to actually have humans that are standing up and able to articulate in a clear, concise manner how they feel about situations that are happening. Because everything now, you got to look, is that ChatGPT? Is that AI? Everything's becoming AI. That people they are really relying on it more than they should. No, most of those people that have, especially those content creators who have 1 million followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. Hopefully, we will reach that by you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, so they'll send you here. But they are scripted. They use teleprompters. Everything is staged for you. Once they find out what you like and what you don't like, that's their niche. Their niche is to tickle your ears and say what you want to hear. If that's what you want a robot. We're not robots. We are humans.
Eric's panel, I don't know why this conversation is like offending you so much. And, now he's saying, why not focus on black crime? Why not focus on George Floyd's past?
Do you focus on white crime? Do you focus on Indian crime, Hispanic crime, Asian crime? Every area has whatever on crime, but you know what they highlight? They highlight black on black crime. Like who commits the most crime in this country are white people. They don't ever focus on that, do they? So you know who killed the most cops in this country? White people. But nobody says white on white crime, right?
So you think George Floyd deserved what happened to him?
And another thing, we're going to go to that. Another thing, like he's talking about, why don't we focus on black crime? Only place they keep going to is Chicago. Do you know there are higher crime rates in red states? But the only place they keep going to is Chicago. That's it. But they don't go to the 13 red states or whatever, or 10 red states that have a higher crime rate. Do you ever hear them talking about that? Ever? How long do they spend talking about mass shooters, school shooters, cops killings? They don't even bring it up. I have footage and so much stuff that back to back, so many cops killed by white people that the White House nobody even mentions. They don't even mention it. I was shocked in Pennsylvania. I think, where was it? Not Butler. In Pennsylvania, that it was 4 cops were taken out by a white guy. And they said on the news, they said, we're not even going to mention his name. Was never even mentioned. I was like, what? They said, we're not even going to mention his name. Who does that? If that was a black, they have him front and center, talking about how treacherous this person is, and they would have a mugshot with him looking crazy after they don't whoop his ass, making him look insane.
So now he said George Floyd didn't deserve to die. No one does, but he did put himself into that situation.
Let me say this, because hopefully God will do something with that racism that you have in your heart. I had rallies and stuff for George Floyd. Okay? I belong to a committee and group that we do stuff in remembrance, whatever, that I haven't participated in a while, for George Floyd. So I've been there. We was trying to push that George Floyd Act. So what happened to George Floyd, he did not deserve it. He didn't commit a crime. Let's just start with that. He was black. That was his crime. And the officer knew him because they worked together in a club. That's how he was convicted, because it was murder. George Floyd went into a store and paid with a $20 bill and had the cops called on him. He didn't run, he waited, because he had nothing to fear. He didn't commit a crime. And nobody ever said anything about if he had a counterfeit bill, whatever, he got it from somebody else. He didn't print his own damn money. But he didn't deserve to be murdered in front of people, and nobody could do anything about it. They was on his neck and his back, and they stopped the man from breathing. That was already proven, or he wouldn't be in jail. So for you to behave the way you're behaving, even the world responded to that, because they saw it with their own eyes. That's what's great with social media. They saw that man losing his life till his last breath, calling for his mother.
Yeah, Yellow, you're getting reported.
Okay? Calling for his mother.
Some evil people here.
Just take a picture of it, and we'll contact you too, or the FBI, whoever.
Now celebrating what happened to George Floyd.
But the thing about it, he didn't commit a crime. That's why we have the justice system. If he did anything, he's supposed to go to jail and stand before a judge. He didn't hit anybody. He didn't do anything to anyone that day. They always try to dig up past records. that he paid for and he went to jail for. You didn't take a picture of it? And that he went to jail for. That's what they do. He paid for that. But that day that he was murdered on the streets, he didn't commit a crime that day. And no crime was ever proven. He paid for what he purchased. And he died for that purchase. It got away from why he was being treated that way to it became about him losing his life. But it started from that purchase and that phone call that was made. He didn't go into a store and steal and run out of a store. He paid for the items. And they knew it wasn't a counterfeit bill. But he paid with his life. He paid with his life. And nobody could stop that cop and get them off his back and get them off his neck. They didn't get up until he was dead. Until he was dead. People was out there protesting. People was out there saying, let him breathe. People did all they could. Let him breathe. And they didn't get off of him until he took his last breath.
Yeah, Eric is going out. He's saying he had a heart attack.
I guess he would have a heart attack after that, right? Why was that happening to him? Why? He didn't resist arrest. He was on the ground. He didn't fight them. That you could be handcuffed and being black, but you could be handcuffed with your hands behind your back with no weapon and still be killed as a black man in the United States of America. It's happened so many times. You could be handcuffed to anything, and they still say self-defense, but they're the only ones with a weapon.
So the people in the comments, you think you would survive I'm talking for over 10 minutes with a grown man's knee on your neck
that's pressing down on you, trying to kill you. And and the ones on your back, on your lungs. Look, the courts and the coroner, all of them did their reports. They wouldn't have been convicted if it wasn't so. Let's just start with that. The crime, the evidence, everything already dictated to the actions of those officers. It wasn't one officer. It was 4 of them. He didn't resist arrest. All that for a purchase in a store? Are you kidding me? Let it happen to you.
Damn, these people are just wicked, bro.
Let it happen to you. No, you know what? You sow what you reap. See, the way that they're behaving, it'll come back because God is no respecter. Let them be the way that they
people
are.
Are joyful what happened to 2 people.
It's fine. They're going to get it back with their own family members. It could happen to them. So when you rejoice, can you put it? I can't say when you rejoice like that, you're going to get it back because God don't like ugly. You're going to get it back. What you're doing, you're reaping stuff on your own life or your loved ones. It don't happen right away. And you're going to remember how much joy you just had. You got to be careful how you treat people. You got to be careful because God said, leave all vengeance to him. Nobody has to do anything. God said, leave it to him. So when you walk around with kind of hate just because of a person that they're black, what did he do? What was his crime that day?
Yeah, Eric, you need to read your Bible because God, he's a forgiving God. God forgives.
What was his crime? The justified murder. What was his crime? Did he resist arrest? Did he kill somebody? Did he got treated worse than people that they know that have been mass shooters that have killed people. What did he do? What was his crime that day? What did he do to justify that execution? Because that was an execution. We're not going to justify wrong. Period. Justify wrong. Did he shoot somebody? Did he rape somebody? What did he steal? What did he do to justify that?
It's sad that these people have
It's
children.
fine. It's fine. They're going to reap what they sow. This show is not to change who they are. It's to put seeds and to let them see who they really are. So when they go to their jobs, they got that black coworker and they trying to act like, oh yeah, I'm friends with black people. That's my dog. That's my friend. They trying to even act like us. Then that's your true heart. A lot of people have black wives, have black children, have black grandmothers. You know, we're blended now. So when you in their face, then don't pretend this is what they need to see. They need to see you. You got people walking around saying they're not like that, but your words and your behavior dictates what's in your heart. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks. That's in the Bible. So people have to examine themselves. Don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe. We got to get the likes. That's all we ask, because we don't be getting the super chats like we should get, because we give you good content. But our whole thing now is to get the subscribers up, and we're going to polish up this show. And that's why we put in there, please like, share, subscribe, because we're competing against people like Fox News, the White House. They have to see they're not going to send the viewers unless people are hitting the likes for the algorithm. It matters. That's how YouTube, they changed the rules. That's how it works now. Like the people we were getting, because we have like a nice following, we have a lot of subscribers, the rules have changed. So now that's what they go by. And that's who we're competing. We're competing with the big dogs. You know, we're competing with them. And a lot of times in the past, we have had more viewers than the big dogs. So we got to work our way back. We haven't been, like, when we're not being consistent, it really hurts the channel, because we really need to be, putting content out every day. But my goal is to upload more, because I want to talk about issues and subjects and things that matter. And I haven't been dedicating myself like I should to spend more time uploading and giving you guys more content. But that's the goal for this year.
Oh, someone said, yes, please go live every day.
Yeah, we got to go live. And you know what had happened? I'm going to be honest with you guys. What had happened is that I got tired. I got frustrated. My son wouldn't help me, because I don't know how to do a lot of this.
Okay.
And I just got tired of fighting, trying to get it done, because it got so popular so fast, faster than I've been able to learn, because there's a lot to this. So I'm reliant. And I start just turning away from it. But I do love this because I'm a speaker. But I am going to try to commit to upload every day. And that's how this channel grow and the word will get out. But if you guys, if you like it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you want, we like hearing from you. We don't want you to agree with us. We're not asking for that.
Adam, if you read the Bible, you would know that Israel and Jewish people are God's chosen people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we're not asking for that. But it's good to have conversations. It's great that we can talk to each other. And our other goal is, as soon as my son helped me, is I want to be able to upload and have people on that we can have these discussions and we could talk about these issues. And one person that I'm probably going to upload next, and I'm telling y'all right now, is I don't know how many people on here heard a certain YouTuber, but he's pretty big right now. But I got something to say to him. And, if he want to put the pause on and go back and forth, I'm here for it. But it's not meant for that. But I don't like how he continuously put down black women. I've had enough of him. So I will be doing a show that I'm going to upload, or I just might do a live on, because we got to stop people from putting down different ethnicities and things like that. And I got a problem with him, because it's always like our own. This is not even, white people don't even do this. So it's not even white people or anything like that. It's a black
Adam,
man.
I guess you don't even know that Jesus Christ was Jewish, dude. But
so I am going to upload that. And don't forget to subscribe to my NFL channel. I got to do that. It's so much going on. But like I said, I had stopped because I got, just got frustrated, got tired. But I'm neglecting my other channels, because that was taking off. Speak to Sports. People was loving it. People was giving and I stopped. I just stopped. I stopped this channel and I stopped Pray to All Here. It's a lot that I can do. If you guys get a chance, my digital pastor is Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell from Church 2819. That's who we follow. I love Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. So if you want a good pastor, someone that's speaking the truth, what we need. Pastors is not in pulpits trying to get paid, and they're not telling you what you need to hear. Like, these are the last days. We got to get it together because Jesus is coming back soon. And that all the science is already showing it. Because we're even having rumors and rumors of wars right now. Everything is going on.
We're not going to talk one-on-one with you because you never have any evidence. You just are claiming that she's racist.
We're doing you a favor because you should be. We're talking to you, which most content creators, unless you super chat them, they don't even respond to you. Okay.
All right.
So you've been having our floor.
Why people are preaching on here is because it's the last days, buddy.
Yeah, we're Christians first, and we have an obligation. God said, what are we supposed to do? We exist to spread the word to all
the gospel
to the gospel to all have heard. So we are commissioned. That's what we exist to spread the word, to spread the gospel to all have heard. And that's what we're doing. We're in the show, no matter what, it's going to come up. Even though I have a show called Pray to All Here. Because, prayer is important. Anyway, you guys, thank you. It's late afternoon. And I need to let Elijah go and let somebody deal with his hair. But he found out I could do it. Because I was on his hair. So I got to work on his hair. And that's going to take time. So I'm going to do him that favor. And thanks, guys, for joining us. And we appreciate your time. Don't forget to come back. Tell people about us. Share about Speak the Truth 2.0.
Oh, I got someone else on new. They said, how can you follow Pastor Mitchell and be still so race obsessed? You seem like a new believer with limited Bible knowledge.
Oh, Pat. Hey, Philip Anthony Mitchell says exactly the same thing I say. He don't hold nothing back. He don't hold nothing back. He's not a sheep. He's a leader. And leaders know how to lead. And being in Christ, I don't follow man. I don't put him on a pedestal. That belongs to Jesus is my king and my Lord and Savior. Christ is king and Jesus is Lord. So if you look at what he stands for, he's not into same-sex marriages. He's not into any of the LGBT. He's not for any of that. And people don't like that. He speaks about the last days and what's going on and all the signs that are going on right now. You could believe it or don't believe it, but your salvation is at hand.
They said, how could you be still so race obsessed?
It's not. It's like anytime you mention, look, people try to say that they not into race or they don't see black and white. Y'all lying. Everything is about that. It's a lie. It's a lie. Speaking about race it's speaking truth. It's communicating. Because it's things are never resolved if you don't talk about it. If everybody keeps hiding behind that they don't want to address tough subjects, then how can people ever heal? That's not, if you say anything, oh, you're racist. It's like, but that's just an scapegoat because people don't want to hear the truth. They want to run from everything that you can't say nothing. That's not going to happen here. And nobody on here is being racist by saying the truth. Anything you don't agree with, look it up. Look it up. Whatever it is, look it up. Fact check. I'm not a politician. Fact check. Fact check everything. You get more honesty from me than your elected officials.
You know we have multiple races in us. Like Native American, there's white in us. There's multiple.
Look, people come on like she white. Yeah, we got every ethnicity you could think of is in this blood. The skin you see is right here. But like people, I don't know. They try to make things. If you're comfortable, and that's how the only way that you can accept life, then stay that way. Be that way. Be who you are. Okay.
It said, you are not a Christian if you're obsessed with race. One, grafted the tree of life. We will all be children of God. You need to read scripture.
I think that you're butthurt. that you are being so sensitive and emotional that you rather run and hide because people are speaking truth. There's like God, that we're spirits. Like this is our human life. We're babies. Your goal should be salvation. That's eternity. To accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. That's what the blood is for, the blood. Because that's the only way that you're going to enter into the kingdom of heaven. You could be a non-racist, the best person in the world. You could give to the poor. You could cure cancer, but that's not going to get you into heaven. It's confessing with your mouth and believing in your heart that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and God raised him from the dead. That's how you'll enter the kingdom of heaven. So nobody's going to be on here playing games and trying to make you feel comfortable that you rather divert and saying that I am a racist, which is a lie, because people are speaking truth to you that you can't handle for some odd reason. I don't know what has happened in your life or why is it so sensitive to you, but following Pastor Anthony Mitchell, a pastor, I search high and low. I've been to everybody church, everybody conference, white or black, and he is what I landed on. He is real. And I support his ministry. But God is first in my life. Jesus is first. I don't put man before God. Period. And speaking the truth doesn't make you a racist.
We don't put our race before God.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with God. There's no, guess what? Let me be clear. There's not no all white section in heaven. There's not no all black section in heaven, Indian, Asian, Hispanic, okay? We're going to be in our spiritual bodies. And if you look at who were the first people on this earth, they were black. The oldest DNA is from black women. We all come from black. The white race just came around 1,600 years ago. Are you aware of that? That everybody was birthed out of a black woman? God didn't take the dirt from the earth and it was a white person formed. The dirt is black. The dust you came, the dust you'll go back. So we've been, like, a lot of history has been hidden from us, intentionally hidden from us. But because the time we're living in, there's more truth that's coming out about reality, what's going on. Yeah. And people have been cutthroat.
Well, you could look it up. People.
You could look it up.
People,
look it all up.
People in the comments, like a lot of historians say that the Garden of Eden, the first place that humans ever were, was in Africa.
Everything came out of Africa.
Yeah, so you could look it up.
Everything came out of Africa. It's okay. You can find this out for yourself. Educate yourself. Find it out for yourself. They don't teach all this stuff in school. Find it out for yourself. They want to hide it and keep it away from you. But it's coming out more and more and more every day. All the lies, all the hidden truths. And they keep trying to do it. They do it here in the United States of America because they don't want people to know who they really are. And it's worked. It has worked. Everything has been diabolical. Everything's been done to keep certain people suppressed. And every time they try to, rise up, they try to suppress them again. And that has been going on for hundreds of years here in this country. So anyway, you guys, we're going to jump off. Don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe. I've been on here a lot longer than I intended to. But we probably put some clips up. We love hearing from you because we get thousands of people in the chat. And then when it goes down, then we don't get the comments. So we want to hear from you. We will address anything you have to say. We will personally address it. But here is too many comments. We can't read all the comments. We don't even see all the comments. We only realize how many people actually been in the chat once we end the live. So that's when we see the numbers. So anyway, you guys, thanks for joining us. What are you reading now?
I'm just reading the comments.
Thank you, Endor. You are such a blessing to us. We do appreciate you. And we appreciate everybody on here, especially our moderator. So you guys, we'll try to come on, like people ask, we'll try to do a live every day, but look for our uploads as well, because I need to start uploading. My son wants me to start another channel too, but I already have 3 now, but it's one, he wants one more because some of the things we talk about that needs to be addressed is probably not for this particular audience. But we do appreciate you guys because this is supposed to be Speak the Truth 2.0. And we'll listen to you. And we hear what you have to say. We hear you. We hear you.
If you want to hear what you want to makes you feel good, go listen to your favorite news station. We're just going to say the truth on here.
We hear you. We're not discarding anything that however you feel. We hear you and what you have to say and how you feel. And it's understandable. Nobody's trying to change adults. We're not trying to change your viewpoint. We're just speaking our truth. And you should speak your truth. But you need to find out the truth. Find out, investigate. Everything's available. You got ChatGPT, you got AI, you got Wikipedia, you have Google, you have Siri, you have every means. Ground News, Twitter, that's now known as X. You have all these news sources to find out the truth. So take advantage of it. So you're not in the dark. And that's what we do. And we like to continue to educate ourselves and to learn. And nobody is right about everything. We don't claim to be right about everything, but we're speaking from the heart, and that's all we can give you. We're not trying to give you misinformation. We're not trying to change what you believe
Rebel, you're adding what you want to the Bible, which shows that you don't read the Bible.
What did they?
Now that's the person saying that you're the Bible, you're making it about race instead of God's word.
Somehow that hit a nerve with that person. Yeah. So you need prayer. We pray for you in the name of Jesus. God, just expand your mind, open you up. He said, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thy own understanding. All thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path, because you need your path directed, because there's a wound there that's not just from this lie. You got this thing about the word, like people, they say something like they're going against God, and they're not. You're taking it somewhere else. So anyway, you guys, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. God bless you. We're trying real hard. We're trying to be as real as possible. And I think it's refreshing to have people at least that want to share their time with you and speak the truth and check everything. Fact check for yourself. Find out for yourself when nobody can interfere with anything. Don't listen just to mainstream media, Fox News, CBS, CNN, and find out. Use AI to find out.
What Bible do you think we're reading?
Thank you. God bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you to both. Amen. God bless you. Good job. How you doing? We're doing well. Hope you guys are doing well. Jasmine Crockett, your sister. You know what? Y'all gonna see me, and y'all gonna appreciate me when y'all see me on the big screen running for office. Okay, so I guess maybe that's God's goal for my life, because it's amazing. So anyway, you guys, thank you guys. Keep doing. So you don't read any of the nice things.
Keep it going.
Is Jasmine Crocodile used to say. So thank you for positive energy. Share this morning. Thank you guys. Keep it going. Thank you. We appreciate. See, those are the ones. Give them. Read the people that appreciate the positive energy. The people that are you. My son likes reading anything somebody say negative. It gets right to him. I don't care. I'm immune. I've been delivered from people a long time ago, because I found out the only way that you can make it, you got to be delivered from people. You can't worry about and think about what people think of you.
Just block Eric.
What is he saying?
That's the guy that keeps saying that that
I'm waiting.
That
is he talking about the Bible?
No, he's talking about that. I forgot.
Then why did you want to block him?
Because he's like saying that, like, kind of what the other person said, like we're putting like twists in the Bible. Okay, well
anyway, no, they need to stay on here and hear the word. Maybe this might be the only word they get to hear. Exactly. People block the truth. Block the truth. Oh, you really butthurt. That's Eric. Hey, who's saying? Usually people say block a lie. They talking about block the truth. Are you okay?
That's Eric.
You can't let me tell you. You can't stop what God has for you. It's nothing. You don't have the power. You don't have the power to stop or block anything. I've never heard anybody talk about block the truth. That just shows that you're funny. You must be a comedian or something in real life. Who are you? I've never heard anything block the truth. Hey, ain't this crazy? That just shows you how crazy this world is. That shows you how crazy people. I mean, this is literally crazy.
Yeah.
Block the truth. Isn't that something? God help you. But anyway, you could have left a long time ago. So obviously you like being here. So
Yeah.
because if something you don't like, nobody's making you watch or listen, but you're here. Eric, that's his name. You're here.
Eric.
You could have just left a long time ago.
That's the guy that didn't believe George Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Everybody's here. The ones that have something to say, you're here because you want to be here. So you want to be here. So anyway, I gotta go. I don't have time for all this right now because I got stuff to do. I hope you and your son does not have to be involved in this crazy war. Your son does not. Yeah, well, you know what? Hopefully not. I already have a son that's in the military. Okay. My family is a military family. Let's just so we have a lot of from doctors, lawyers, engineers, politicians, national offices, local offices. We're blend teachers. We're blend of everyone. My whole family is successful. All of us. My cousin's first sergeant. They are my uncle chief in the Navy. They all rank. I'm talking about our family. They have rank in the military. So I have cousins and different people in the military. So, whatever God has or whatever, we cover it with the blood of Jesus. We have no fear. We have no fear because God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. So when people say stuff, they're like, okay, you're a son. But see, you don't know who God has his hands on. All my children are protected with the blood of Jesus because they have a praying mother. Do you pray for your kids? So anyway, God bless you. God bless all of y'all. Yeah, we don't want to be involved. This war I still don't understand all of it, but I have no control over it. So I just don't want all the lives that are going to be lost. Pray for those young people and those people that they're trying to send to a dangerous country that have landmines and things like that. Pray for them. Pray for those young people. Pray for them because they're going to need it. And I just hope that it be over soon. I hope that this will be resolved by the air more than boots on the ground. That's all there's hope. The only thing I can do is hope and hope that lives won't be lost, no more than have already been lost. And like I said, you got to pray for them. Pray for them just because they're not your kids, your uncles, your fathers, your nephews, your daughters. There are daughters here, your mothers. They're there in the military now. Before it was all men, it's women too. And they got babies at home. So pray for them because they are scared.
Oh, God bless you.
Because they might not come back home.
God bless you too.
To their families.
They said God bless you both.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much. So please pray for them. In the name of Jesus, pray for their safety. Pray for the protection, and he who dwells in the secret house of the Most High shall abide in the shadow of the Almighty. That they abide under the shadow of Almighty. That he'll keep them safe. In Jesus' name, pray for them. Same way, you guys. Thanks for joining us. Speak the Truth 2.0. My name is Cindy. My co-host is my son, Elijah. And we about to get off here. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for hitting those likes. We appreciate it. God bless you. Until the next live tomorrow. Peace out. God bless.